Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's Tuesday, January 17th, and it's our NFL playoff betting edition for the divisional round. And like every Tuesday, I'm joined by Mr. Sean Higgs of picksandparleys.net. Sean, one of the finest handicappers you'll find anywhere in the country, folks. Volume handicapper that makes a lot of money and hits at a very good win percentage. Without further ado, Sean, how was your weekend?
Pretty good. Finished up with Dallas winner. I don't say easy winner, but we talk about this. We could go back to me talk college football. Tampa, I get it. Oh, it's Tom Brady. He's an underdog. Have you not watched this team the entire season, scoring 16 points a game?
Yeah.
And Dallas coming off a terrible game. I mean, you knew the rating was on a wall in that one. For it's easy to say after the fact. I mean, listen, I liked it before, so I could say I knew it was going to happen because it was a win for me. But
I wish I would have listened to you, buddy, because I had a loser last night. So
yeah, listen, it happens. I had the Niners, which was a nice win. They came back second half, but I had Buffalo -10, and I'm thinking nice fast start.
Yeah.
And then the collapse. And then I'm thinking to myself, did you not watch the game the night before with the Chargers doing this? Yeah. What a great weekend. Awesome weekend of games. Great weekend of games. We had, three basically not backup. I mean, the Jacksonville game to me is kind of a toss-up. You didn't know what was going to happen because you got such a bad head coach in, I almost said San Diego. And he's still the coach for some reason. I can't believe it's Tuesday. I thought they'd be trying out Sean Payton on Thursday or Friday, say, here's our new head coach. Unbelievable. That guy's still running things.
Well, wouldn't it be nice to see Sean Payton as a head coach there with Justin Herbert at quarterback? I think that Justin Herbert's he's a top 5 quarterback in my estimation. Yeah. And the bottom line is he would only get better under the tutelage of Payton. I mean,
that's a spot. And that's a spot for him to go. They have draft pick. Like, they don't need a top 10 or 15 draft pick. They can sell number 1 because they have a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
They have a franchise quarterback. They don't have, okay, take our number 1s for 2 years. You want 3 years? Who cares? We got a Hall of Fame head coach, a Super Bowl winning head coach, and a franchise quarterback, which 20 out of the 30 teams, like, a lot of teams can't say that. You can say, guys, all right, this guy is a franchise type guy. At least I think so.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. I'm high on him. I wasn't high on him coming out of the draft, but he swayed me watching him over the last few years. Yeah. So in any event, I mean, we talk about the game that the Chargers lost and the Bills didn't cover. Discernible difference between the two. I mean, you're talking about a Chargers team that somehow blew a 27-0 lead. And after being up 27-0, they didn't turn the ball over. As a matter of fact, they were +5 in the turnover department in that contest, and somehow they managed to blow that game.
And that comes to the coaching, Ross. Like,
yeah,
you're up. You have a great first half, but you got to go in there and be realistic, guys. We got a couple short fields. We got a fluke punt off a guy's head.
Yeah.
Can we get the offense going a little bit here? Like, no, they still come out thinking they're going to get 5 more turnovers or something. It's crazy. I don't understand. I do not. I mean, yeah, and he's still the head coach.
Yeah, and I think that a majority of that problem is, he's a defensive coach, and they gave up a lot of yards, and he hasn't shown. He makes in-game decisions that are highly questionable at times. He's a risk taker. However, until you improve your offensive line and your ability to run the ball, you're going to be susceptible to any lead you have because you're so dependent on your passing game. And when you saw in the second half of that game, they're throwing 3 out of 4 plays. And if he's not hitting a high percentage of passes and the ball hits the ground, incompletion, I should say, the clock stops. Yep. So you don't have that kind of offense that could really, really salt the game away by shortening the game in the second half with a good running game. Now, I mean, Austin Eckler's a nice back, right, Sean? But take away his short runs inside the 10-yard line where he seems to have a nose for the end zone. he's just a versatile back. He's
a scat back out of the backfield, catching flares and screens, which is a great. If you're going to use that instead of the run game, but they weren't using that. There was like, we're going to throw it 7-yard slants. Throw those little bubble screens. This is a completion.
It's like a running play. That's what a lot of. That's how you overcompensate for the lack of a run game.
Let the clock go. Come on, let's
get
out of
here. Get the ball in
here.
the hands of your playmakers on the outside. High probability throws. If you get stopped for a 1-yard gain or even a loss, the clock continues to run. Yes. So I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, and it's always easy for us to look back and say, I would have, I could have, and I should have. So in Buffalo, again, 3 games against Miami this year, all decided by 3 points or fewer. And on each occasion, Buffalo just dominated in terms of total yards. I mean, if you're looking at this matchup this week with Cincinnati, I'm not saying to take Buffalo, but if you just look at the final score where they gave up 31 points, they only gave up, I believe, 230 yards of total offense, somewhere in that neighborhood. And the problem is that you had Josh Allen get sacked and fumbled, and the defense picked it up for a score for Miami. You had 2 other interceptions that were returned inside Buffalo's territory, creating short fields. You had a punt return that was returned to the 40 of Buffalo, another short field. So my point being is what needs to get cleaned up is not the defense at this point. I think what needs to get cleaned up, as much as I love Josh Allen, he's got to take care of the ball better. And we talked about this yesterday, Sean. You love the kid, the way he plays. You love his aggressiveness. You don't want to take that away from him. But he seems to be reverting back to his early stage of his career where he's playing hero ball.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I mean, I'll give you an example too. There was several 3rd and shorts where he's throwing 40-yard passes. And you're going to hit a couple of those, along the way. But at the end of the day, that's a low probability completion rate compared to something 7 to 10 yards, which all you need. That's all you need for a first down. I just, I'm a little concerned in that regard with Josh Allen, even though I think the kid's still a great quarterback.
You mentioned all of them short fields. Even in the second quarter they're up 17-0, and then they shanked the kickoff, and all of a sudden Miami's at midfield, and you're like, I got I'm on 17-0. Miami's not moving the ball. It could be easy 24-0 going into halftime or more.
Yeah.
But you get to a spot like that, and the defense like, whatever. It just seems like the defense is lackadaisical. Granted, short field, stuff like that, defensive touchdown. But the defense for me has been a little suspect for them lately. And as you mentioned, his hero ball, he's going back to like, the Brett Favre comes at him. I'm going to just chuck it here. And that should be, as much as people were like bashing Dak, like, Dak's thrown 15. Josh Allen the last couple of weeks, isn't it? I mean,
and all the most people don't realize he has the most interceptions in football right now.
So, and then it started in Kansas City, those end zone touch interceptions. So like, wow, and it just kind of like you kept seeing it, like, another bad mistake, another mistake, the Minnesota fumble.
Yeah, and in games like that where Buffalo's clearly the better team, the only way that they're going to lose a game like that if they beat themselves, and they really tried in that area.
Because, and here's the thing, though, you play a team like Cincinnati or Kansas City, or I don't know, say Jacksonville, probably Kansas City. Those mistakes, you're not going to win that game. You're not winning those games. You're not winning those games.
No, you're not going to beat a really good team. Let's face it. I mean, Miami is still a good team.
You had a third-string rookie quarterback with a week of practice.
Yeah,
and when given a shot at short field, he put up 30 points on you, whatever he did on those guys. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, you see that and you're thinking to yourself, like, wow, is Tua that good?
Yeah.
I don't know. This guy put up 30. Granted, it was a half a field.
Yeah, but
I'm just making like.
Yeah, I know you're playing the other side of the coin, but
how do you let that happen?
Yeah, you know what? I still will say that's a very deceiving 31 points they gave up, because
you look at the numbers. They're there.
And Cincinnati, one thing I noticed last week against Baltimore. Now, Baltimore's a good defense. But, as solid as their offensive line became as the year progressed, let's face it, folks, this team had wholesale changes on the offensive line from a team that went to the Super Bowl last year, because let us not forget, despite that successful run and almost winning the world championship, Joe Burrow was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL last year. Now, early on, they struggled because, as me and Sean both discussed in our last show, one group that needs to gel and takes time for cohesion and chemistry is the offensive line above all others, in my estimation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my opinion. They did start to perform really, really good. And now they're looking at possibly 3 offensive starters or 3 offensive linemen that are starters out of this game. Don't undervalue that aspect.
I still think the line will be better than last year's line, though. I mean, it's bad. It can't be any worse than last year's line.
Hard to get worse. But the thing, not only in pass protection last week, but their inability to effectively run the ball against Baltimore. Now, Baltimore's a tough team to run. Yeah. I get that.
And that's a spot. Baltimore's, it's division rival games, always a little different.
Yeah.
And Baltimore's a team built on defense, built on milking the clock and beating you up. And also, their quarterback, let's be honest, it was a backup who's played the last, basically, he's been there for a couple of years. He basically played the last 5 or 6 games. And even last year with Lamar,
I thought he was solid last week, Sean. I don't know why. I mean, look, he made that critical error at the most inopportune time. Look, that game's 24-17. That fumble where he tried to extend the ball over the goal. I mean, and
it's not on him.
It's a 14-point swing. You know what I mean?
You're not blaming him. I mean, I can't. That's what you want your guy to do.
Yeah, I would say that I thought that
he makes it. It's like, oh, what a ballsy call! The backup winning the game. Come on.
But the thing is, you still had another down if you didn't make it there. So I don't like the extension unless it's a 4th down play, because you leave yourself wide open for that. Now, look, I'm starting to sound like a result better when I say that. But the bottom line is the worst case scenario. You go under center and do that play where 2 guys are pushing them from behind. And if you fall short, you only got a foot, 2 feet to go for a touchdown on 4th down. Extending the ball from that, it was 1.5 yards, Sean.
Yeah.
Extending it from that distance to me was, I don't know if that was what the play was designed to do or what he was instructed to do, or he just took that upon himself. I would have to think that's the latter, because I can't believe any coach would have instructed him from the 1.5 yard line to extend the ball.
To jump up. Well, maybe he's thinking, they're thinking I'm going to get behind this big butt and run right into the right, and I'm going to
It's unfortunate.
Everybody, think about it. Everybody's going to go low thinking we got to stop him here, and I'm going to go high. Still need the guy to hit the ball, which, I mean.
Yeah, it's not like he's a 6'6" quarterback like a Justin Herbert or a Josh Allen.
Yeah. Great games, though, for sure, though, this weekend. That was.
Yeah, they were. Hey, look, 5 of the 6 games go over in the wild card round, right? And the only under was last night, 31-14. It stays under 45.5. And for whatever reason, Dallas is
extra points.
I'm telling you right now, I would hit at least 2 of those. And I'm 65 years old, because we discussed this. I used to be able to kick. Now,
that unbelievable.
Right, if I ever tried a 10-yard field goal right now, I probably would throw my hamstring out. But anyway. All right.
And you had to run him back out after, because I was out watching the game last night. We're like, you can't put him in. I'm like, you have to put him in there, because you got a game next week where you might need a field goal. You have to run him in there.
I mean, what do you do? I mean, do you really? The look on Jerry Jones' face in the press box after that 4th missed extra point is almost like, oh boy, he's going to be on the phone right after this game looking for a kicker. But I don't think you can make a move like that at this time of year.
You know what? I would have after like the third one, you'd think the kicker would have a smile on his face, like, you got to be kidding me. Like, are you, like laughing about it? People are like, you can't be laughing. But seriously, like, this got to be, where's Candid Camera? How do I do this? Like,
I felt bad for the kid. I did. Not only did he miss those 4, he had missed his extra point in the regular season finale against Washington, his last extra point try. I don't know, in NFL history, if any kicker has ever missed 5 extra points in a row. Maybe it happened. I don't think so. I would say
that's something.
It's a very small sample size if it did. Anyway, all right, we're talking again, folks. We're talking to Sean Higgs from picksandparleys.net. He's got a great podcast himself, Midday Money, that airs live every day at 12 noon Eastern time. A lot of free picks, a lot of if you're interested in chiming in and asking Sean questions, that's the show to go to. He's got a producer. He doesn't have to keep his eye on the questions board, and he keeps his concentration, and it's well run and successful at that. You can get that show by going to the YouTube channel for picksandparleys.net. And Sean, it's on several other networks you'll discuss. Tell the folks how you've been doing and what you may have coming up.
Yeah, real fast. So the Midday Money's on all the podcast channels. You got Amazon Music, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeart. It's great. It's live every day on the YouTube, Twitter, and then it's loaded up after the fact. But again, a lot of back and forth. Like, who do you like today? I'll tell you who I like. Yeah. And who I like, college hoops. Doing all right in college hoops on the year, 30 games over 500. So grinding out there, just a little over about 53%, which is good. I got 500 games. I throw a lot of games out there. And NFL, I'm just having a great season. And
you have been right along. And you know what the thing is, when you're hitting over 60% in the NFL, like Sean is this year, and you're a volume handicapper, I know I'm being redundant when I say this because you hear it from me every time when we discuss Sean's NFL picks. That's going to make you a ton of money, folks. But you just have to exercise proper money management, and that's a discussion for another day and something we beat to death. And I don't think we should go there again, because people, it's like a parent scolding a child when we're talking to bettors. So we won't go there. But
it's Ross, wait a second. After you go like on an 18-6 run, you don't bet at all on the next game, right?
No.
Doesn't work that way. After like 4 straight wins, you keep betting, you'll never lose.
Yeah, I mean, you love it if you're a bookie and a guy goes 18-7 and he's down money or he's even. Talk about stupid money management. Anyway,
and there are people like that, folks.
Yeah, there is.
I get emails. I'm down. You're down.
And no matter how much that I with my clients that I hammer that point home, you'd be surprised how some of them just continue to go on their merry way and think they know more than me when it comes to money management. And you know what, folks? I'll tell you, I can't speak for Sean, but don't call me and don't subscribe to me if you're in this get rich quick scheme theory. It's not going to work. Okay. I don't care if I go 10-0 this week. Okay. After you buy a 7-day package and I go 10-0, it's still, I will tell you the same thing then that I will tell you when you're 0-10. And hopefully that doesn't occur. But, money management's the key, folks. My site, rbwins.com, on a 31-20 run right now in all sports, which is good for 61%. And that dates back to December the 27th. So a nice 2 to 3 week run there. Football picks, college football, NFL combined 40-26 the last 66, 61%. My college basketball is 36-27 since November 17th. So that's a pretty good percentage. I believe somewhere around 57%. NBA top plays 26-13 with my last 39. And then finally NFL 10-star top plays, despite last night's loss, still 14-7 this season and 24-12 dating back all the way back to 2021, which is good for 67%. So a lot of good things going on. rbwins.com is where I post those premium paid selections. And you get my personal guarantee. If you don't win, you don't make a profit, I will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. And you could use that at any time toward future purchases. All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes. And we're going to start with Mr. Sean Higgs. We're looking at Saturday NFL divisional round games between Jacksonville and Kansas City and the Giants in Philadelphia. Right now, Sean, Philadelphia 7.5-point favorite, and the total is 48. What say you?
Yeah, I was hoping this line would be like 6.5, so I could be like, you know what, I'm going to take the Giants here because it'd just be a lot of Eagles by a touchdown talk. But 7.5, I'm leaning Philly here. I know Hurts isn't 100%, but you got a Giant team, and I like Minnesota. Yeah, I had it in the midday morning show. I'm like, I like Minnesota. They weren't getting respect, and the worst team ever, 13-4. Okay, Giants are 14-4 ATS. Is this a team I'm really impressed? I can't name a wide receiver on their team. I mean, they're going to run the ball, and they played a great game with Davis Webb running the show against a Hurts who just come back. And I was thinking, sit Hurts and let the other guy play. Who cares if you got to play a road game? You need your quarterback healthy. But at least he's kind of got the cobwebs out and got a game under his belt. I think this game's not going to be close. I will lay 7.5 here. It's going to be Daniel Jones running the ball, Barkley running the ball. Good luck. Philly has a defense. The Vikings have been a over team for 2 months. They give up. They're going to score 20-something. They'll give up 20-something. Over. Philly's a defensive first squad, and they have offensive playmakers. And the Giants, if you're giving up points to, we can just go. I'm not going to run down their schedule. This is not forget 86 Giants. This isn't them beating the Patriots defense Giants. That's not the defense they have here. No. I mean, listen, Philly, you're going to get Dallas. It'll be a great game next week, Dallas and or the Niners, whoever comes to town against Philadelphia. But this game, I think, is a little tune-up. And, I mean, head-to-head, again, they had the close one last week, but 48-22 in Giant Stadium. Are you going to be shocked?
And it wasn't even that close.
Are you going to be shocked when this is like 33-13 or something like that? 34-17, like a late score to kind of make it closer than it is. Philly all the way from here. And total, believe it or not, I kind of lean to the under here because I think the Philly defense will show up and maybe we still get a little rusty Hurts in the first half. But yeah, I think Philly by 10 plus here.
Well, again, this is the type of situation where a team is clearly better than the other on paper. And similar to what we just discussed with Buffalo and Miami, the only thing that probably will prevent Philadelphia from winning or covering this game is Philadelphia. Yep. Now, having said that, here's the other side of the equation too, is that you got a Philadelphia team. If they don't win, it's not a successful season. It doesn't matter. They've been the number 1 seed in the NFC all year. Yep. They've had the best record in the NFL for most of the year until the bitter end. And then you're talking about a Giants team that if they got blown out 45-0, you'd be hard pressed to say to even the most avid Giants fan to say that they didn't have a successful season.
Yeah. But a quarterback they don't even like. They don't even have this guy an extension. They don't even like the quarterback, and you're in a divisional round.
Well, the big difference with Daniel Jones, I think, is
turnovers.
Brian Daboll.
Brian
Daboll, right off the get-go, if you remember early in the year when he threw a bad interception inside the red zone, he just lambasted him on national TV in front of everybody. Brian Daboll was also very instrumental in the growth of Josh Allen when he was the offensive coordinator at Buffalo. So I think Brian Daboll has done wonders for Daniel Jones. I always liked Daniel Jones. The bottom line, do I think he's a top 10 quarterback? I'm not willing to go there yet, but you got to give the kid credit. He played a tremendous game last week. But there's going to be a huge difference playing the Philadelphia defense as opposed to Minnesota's porous defensive unit. So we'll see. Again,
he holds on to the ball when he runs. He was like a fumble. He was good for a fumble or interception every game last year. You knew you were going to get at least probably 2 turnovers a game from the Giants last year.
Yeah, not to pick on Josh Allen again. I love the kid. I'm an avid Buffalo Bills fan. I'm from Western New York, but objectively and professionally, he's got to take better care of the ball. And some of the stuff he's doing down the final stretch of the season, the second half of the season, he was tremendous in the first half of the season. in terms of taking care of the ball, but he's reverted back to, I mean, Sean, you look at a couple of the runs he had the other day, the way he holds he's dangling the ball out and stretching.
The old
I mean,
loaf of bread.
The one time he fumbled, the one out of bounds, luckily.
Yeah.
Even on the play, you can't fault him for that sack, but you can fault him because he was trying to twist out of that sack and was holding the ball loosely. So that's got to get cleaned up. And I can't help but think, if you notice the difference in the improvement of Daniel Jones in terms of taking care of the ball and Josh Allen reverting back to some of his old ways.
That could be the coach.
The common denominator is Brian Dable.
Yeah.
So, great job by him this year. All right. So Sean likes Philadelphia, latest 7.5 at home over the New York Football Giants. All right. I'm going to take a look at the Kansas City and Jacksonville game. And here's the thing. The total in this game right now is 51.5. And that's where my area of focus is going to be on these free plays. And folks, if you were with us last week, I cashed both of my free plays here on this channel. Is I had the Minnesota and Giants game over 48, relatively easy. And also I did have San Francisco, like Sean, and they blew them away down the stretch to win 41-23. So let's continue to winning with this game. Again, not to be repetitive, but I'm going to concentrate on the total. Since January 20th of 2019, Kansas City has gone 6-1 to the over in home playoff games when the total is 56 or less. The average total in those 7 games was 52.2 points. The average combined score is 66.1 points. The only under was last year's AFC title game in that sequence, and that was a 27-24 loss to Cincinnati. 51 points were scored, but it stayed under the total of 54. So that goes to show you, normally when Kansas City plays at home at this time of year, it's going to be a real high total. Usually you're playing against a team that has a decent offense, which Jacksonville is, and the total is going to be up there. And they've proven time and time again in the postseason under Andy Reid that when they play at home, if the total is 56 or less, they play high-scoring, entertaining affairs. The first meeting earlier this year, Kansas City won 27-17. They did that at home. However, if you look inside the numbers, they only scored 27 points, despite the fact they turned the ball over 3 times and did gain 486 yards in that game. So usually when you get that high at total yards, you're in the 30s. And because they turned the ball over 3 times, that set them back in that regard. Now let's turn our attention to Jacksonville. 6-1 over the total in their last 4-1 over the total in their last 5 non-division away games when the total is 41.5 or greater. If they're a dog of 9 or less in those games, they improved to 5-0 over the total. They've gone 3-0 to the over in their last 3 games when there's been a total of 45 or greater, which obviously this one is 51.5. And those 3 games when the total was 45 or greater, that all went over the total, average a combined 63 points per contest. Here's another thing here when it comes to playoff underdogs. Since 2017, playoff underdogs, away underdogs to be specific, with a total of 52 or greater. Again, you could find 51.5, 52 on this game, but right in that neighborhood. And they're coming off 6 wins or more in a row, like the Jacksonville are. All 4 of those games that fell under that situation went over the total, 62.3 points per game. And finally, when we get into the meat and potatoes here, we're talking about a Kansas City team. Obviously, everybody knows how potent they are, but let me just reemphasize that point because they're number 1 in scoring in the NFL at 29.2 points per game. Number 1 in total offense at 414.1 yards per contest. Jacksonville, on the other hand, not so bad. I mean, I was sort of surprised to see this when I looked at it, but Jacksonville is number 10 in scoring, a little over 24 points per game, and they're number 10 in total offense. So they're fully capable, and we've witnessed over the years, despite Kansas City's success and high degree thereof, they're still vulnerable on defensively, and this year is no different. You could score on them.
Yeah.
So I like this game to go over the total of 51.5, Sean. Jacksonville, Kansas City, over 51.5. That I find that line at DraftKings just about everywhere else. They're 52. I'm okay with 52 as well. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have a Jacksonville team who's comes in relatively hot, right? We're not going to say they're not. They've got some nice wins under their belt.
6 in a row. Yeah.
Against quarterbacks, I mean, when you got a couple easy ones in there. You got Dobbs, you know,
Sure.
a couple backups, you know, you got a Zach Wilson, Schriever night in against the Jets. But you've seen against Herbert and Dak, and he gives up. This defense will give up points. Yeah. And now you have a rested Kansas City. I mean, we know Andy Reid off bye weeks is going to be ready and little.
Yeah,
it's going to be a. Let's be honest. This is the last home game here, basically, right? Because it's going to be a.
Yeah, if they get to the conference championship game,
yes.
it is a last home game if they have to play. Well, it is the last home game because they're playing the winner of Buffalo and Cincinnati. You're correct.
So maybe a little extra juice here for the fans, for the team. You know, it's difficult with Kansas City laying these kind of numbers because basically it's 8. It's going to be 10. In my mind, it's a double-digit game for them to cover, and usually they're not good at covering those numbers. They allow teams get back into things. I'm with you on that over.
Yeah,
Kansas City will put up a 30-plus spot, and Jacksonville is a no-quit kind of team. They come back, score. You know, they're going to get in the 20s, 20, 22, 24.
Yeah.
It's an odd one. Like you said, there's 52s and like a 51. Fine. You're going to give me a little bit. That's fine. You know, 30, 22, I get that over. Give it to me if I can't miss. I get a missed field goal. You know, I cash it as a 51.5 or extra point. Yeah. So I'm with you on it over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, they've been very good at coming back in games at times. The Dallas game, I believe, is one that comes to mind. And
even this one, I mean, the two good teams they played, playoff teams, Dallas and LA, big deficits, and they can easily nail it in.
We've seen too many times how the
with the Chargers, it's
more a whole. Look, if they get behind 14 points in this game, I'm sort of leery that it could get real ugly because it's a lot more difficult to come back on a Kansas City team that's not going to beat themselves with Patrick Mahomes under center. Is disciplined, is coming off a week of rest. So there's a lot of factors to consider. I'm not saying to take Kansas City yet, folks, because it's too early for me to make that decision. I'm going to just stick with the over, and Sean's going to take the better team in the Philadelphia Eagles, -7.5 over the Giants, and he made some very good points in that regard. Sean, it's always a pleasure. We'll be back on Friday. Yeah,
Friday, little college hoops. We got NC State, North Carolina. We'll be talking about little ACC battle.
Yeah. So again, college hoops. You'll see that being ramped up here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast, and Sean Higgs will be a major participant when it comes to those types of videos here. So again, folks, for Ross Benjamin and Sean Higgs, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. Give the old guys a like. And until the next time, take care and God bless, folks.